Thousands of Roman legionaries lock their shields, desperate for refuge against a relentless downpour of arrows. They wait for the barrage to end so they can advance, but the deadly storm continues without pause for hours. To break the encirclement, the Romans deploy a 6,000-man strike force. But instead of relief, they march into something far more terrifying: a brutal slaughter by heavily armored cataphracts. Their commander, the wealthiest man in the Roman Republic, is caught in an inescapable trap, and the ultimate price for his greed will be unimaginable. Marcus Licinius Crassus operates Rome's first private fire brigade. Rome in the 1st century BC is a city of dense timber apartment blocks called insulae. Fire is a constant threat. Crassus employs 500 highly trained slaves. When a fire breaks out, they rush to the scene. They do not throw water. Crassus finds the owner and offers to buy the burning building, along with the adjacent properties, at a fraction of their value. If the owner agrees, the slaves extinguish the fire. If the owner refuses, Crassus lets the building burn to the foundation. He acquires the land, rebuilds the structures cheaply, and leases them back. This extortion scheme makes him the wealthiest man in the Roman Republic. His net worth hits 7,100 talents. That equals the entire annual revenue of the Roman state. He has enough personal capital to fund entire legions out of pocket. But money cannot buy military prestige. Crassus is 62 years old. He forms a political alliance with Julius and Pompey. Pompey just returned from conquering the eastern Mediterranean. Julius is dismantling Gaul, sending back military dispatches that captivate the Roman public. Crassus has wealth, but his partners have martial glory. He needs a military triumph to maintain his political grip. He looks east. The Parthian Empire is the dominant power in the Near East. Crassus launches an unprovoked invasion. He wants to march through Parthia to India. He wants to control the Silk Road trade networks. He believes the campaign will be a simple promenade. But Crassus fundamentally misunderstands his enemy. He expects traditional infantry lines. He marches 35,000 legionaries straight into the arid plains of Mesopotamia. He is walking directly into a machine built entirely for high-speed cavalry attrition. Crassus makes decisions that actively sabotage his own army. The king of Armenia offers a safe route through the Armenian mountains. He offers 40,000 reinforcements if Crassus takes this path. The rocky terrain would neutralize Parthian horses. Crassus rejects the offer. He chooses the flat, exposed desert. His quaestor, Cassius, advises him to march along the Euphrates River. The river guarantees a water supply. It anchors one flank, preventing encirclement. Crassus ignores Cassius. Instead, he listens to a local Arab chieftain named Abgarus. Abgarus acts as a guide. He tells Crassus the Parthians are a small force, fleeing in panic. Abgarus leads the Roman army away from the river valleys. He guides them deep into the trackless plains. Abgarus is a double agent working for the Parthians. He positions the Romans on the exact terrain where Parthian cavalry holds absolute supremacy. The Roman force consists of 7 veteran legions. These men wear heavy chainmail. They carry large plywood shields and short-thrusting swords. They also have 4,000 light skirmishers and 4,000 cavalry. This includes 1,000 elite Gallic horsemen, led by Crassus's son, Publius. The Parthian king sends a specialized strike force to meet them. It is led by a young aristocratic general named Surena. Surena commands 9,000 light horse archers. and 1,000 heavily armored cataphracts. When forward scouts report the Parthian presence, panic ripples through the dehydrated Roman ranks. Crassus orders his men into a massive hollow square. 12 tightly packed cohorts form each side. The formation provides defensive cover, but completely destroys their mobility. They anchor themselves in the sand, waiting for an enemy they cannot catch. The Romans reach a small stream. Generals plead with Crassus to make camp and rest overnight. Publius argues for an immediate advance. Crassus listens to his son. He marches the exhausted army into the dry plains. Surena does not charge. He initiates psychological warfare. The Parthians do not use horns. They beat massive hollow drums strung with bronze bells. A deep, unnatural roaring noise echoes across the desert. It unsettles the legionaries. Next comes visual deception. Surena covers his 1,000 cataphracts in dark cloaks and animal skins. They slowly advance. At a precise distance, Surena gives a signal. The riders drop the cloaks. The midday sun reflects off a solid wall of highly polished margin steel armor. The shock of this sudden, gleaming threat paralyzes the Roman front lines. Crassus sends his light skirmishers forward. The Parthian horse archers retreat, easily maintaining distance. They unleash a concentrated volley of arrows. The lightly armored Romans break immediately. They flee back into the heavy infantry square. The retreat spreads confusion and disrupts the tightly packed Roman formation. The legionaries lock their shields. They prepare to endure the missile storm. Standard nomadic horse archers carry limited arrows. Once empty, they must retreat or engage in melee combat. The Romans wait for the quivers to empty. They expect the Parthians to charge the unbroken line, where the short swords will cut them down. The arrows do not stop. Surena has solved the primary logistical weakness of horse archers. He deployed a massive supply train of thousands of camels directly behind his lines. The camels carry inexhaustible reserves of fresh arrows. The archers rotate, resupply, and return. The barrage will last from noon until nightfall. The physical toll is agonizing. The Parthians use composite bows made of laminated wood, horn, and sinew. These bows store massive kinetic energy. They fire arrows with hardened, barbed bodkin points designed to defeat armor. A single arrow fired directly at a Roman shield and chainmail might not penetrate to inflict a mortal wound. But Surena relies on volume and trajectory. The archers use plunging fire. They shoot high parabolic arcs. The arrows rain down vertically onto unprotected heads, necks, shoulders, and limbs. The velocity pins the exposed hands of the legionaries to the wooden rims of their shields. It nails their sandaled feet through the flesh into the desert floor. The men are immobilized. They cannot fight or flee. Extracting the barbed arrowheads tears veins and muscles, worsening hemorrhagic shock. The Romans face an impossible dilemma. If they tighten their ranks into the testudo formation to create a roof of shields against the arrows, Surena sends in the heavy cataphracts. The massive horses and heavy pikes smash into the blind formations. One thrust impales multiple men. If the Romans loosen their ranks to avoid the pikes, they are immediately exposed to the relentless arrow storm. A pile of Roman corpses rises. Living soldiers trip over the dead. The Parthian horses tear up the dry ground, raising immense heaps of sand. Thick dust blinds the Romans. They cannot communicate. They choke in the midsummer heat. Many succumb to heat stroke without ever taking a combat wound. Crassus watches his army bleed to death. He orders a desperate counterattack to break the encirclement. He gives his son, Publius, a strike force of 6,000 men, including the elite Gallic cavalry. Publius advances. The Parthians stop firing. They turn their horses and flee. It is a feigned retreat, a classic nomadic tactic to stretch enemy lines. Publius misreads the situation. He zealously pursues the Parthians at high speed. He draws his detachment far away from the main Roman body. They lose visual range and mutual support. Deep in the desert, the fleeing Parthians halt. They turn and envelop the detachment. Publius orders his Gallic cavalry to charge the heavy cataphracts. The clash is a one-sided defeat. The unarmored Gallic horses and lighter weapons are useless against the mail-clad Parthians and their long lances. In desperation, Gallic riders dismount. They crawl under the Parthian horses, attempting to stab their unarmored bellies. The charge collapses. Publius falls back to a sloping sand dune. They attempt a defensive testudo. The elevation is a fatal error. The slope exposes the ranks behind the front lines. The overlapping shield roof is negated. The Parthians surround the hill and pour missile fire into the exposed mass. Recognizing the command is annihilated, Publius and his senior officers fall on their own swords. Of the 6,000 men, only 500 are taken alive. The rest are wiped out. Back at the main Roman body, the missile pressure briefly lifts. The Romans begin to advance. Then, the Parthian cavalry returns. They ride up to the Roman lines. A rider holds a spear. Impaled on the tip is the severed head of Julius Crassus. The sight of the commander's mutilated son shatters the last trace of Roman morale. Night falls. The Parthians withdraw to their camp. Crassus is incapacitated by grief. He abdicates his leadership and hides in the darkness. Cassius takes command to organize a stealthy night retreat. They face a grim calculation. A stealthy withdrawal requires silence. 4,000 severely wounded legionaries lie in the camp. If the army attempts to bring them, their slow pace and wailing will expose the column. If the army stays to protect them, everyone will be annihilated at dawn. The officers make the brutal decision. They abandon the 4,000 wounded men in the dark. At sunrise, the Parthians overrun the camp. The cavalry spreads out to hunt stragglers. Cassius realizes the nearby town of Carrhae is a trap. He breaks out with 500 cavalry and escapes back to Roman Syria. Crassus retreats north toward the Armenian hills. Surena's forces intercept his slow-moving column. Surena has orders from King Orodes to capture the triumvir alive. He offers a diplomatic parley. Crassus suspects treachery. He refuses to leave his troops. His starving, battered soldiers turn on him. They enter open mutiny. They threaten to kill their own commander if he refuses to negotiate. Forced into compliance, Crassus rides down to the plain with a small retinue. During the meeting, a violent scuffle breaks out. The Romans are overwhelmed. Crassus is killed in the melee. The expedition is a total loss. 20,000 Romans are dead. 10,000 are marched off in chains as prisoners of war. The Golden Legionary Eagles are captured. Surena receives no reward. King Orodes recognizes the immense danger of his young, invincible general. Driven by paranoia, Orodes orchestrates Surena's assassination shortly after the battle. The 10,000 Roman prisoners are deported to the extreme northeastern frontier of the Parthian Empire. Decades later, rumors surface. Chinese chronicles describe a mysterious unit fighting in Central Asia, using a highly disciplined fish scale formation. The lost legionaries of Carrhae may have ended their lives fighting as mercenaries on the borders of China. For 30 years, the captured eagles remain in Parthian hands. They are a festering wound on the honor of the Republic. Mark Antony attempts to forcefully retake them in 36 BC. He fails, losing even more standards and prisoners. It is Augustus Caesar who resolves the humiliation. By 20 BC, Augustus consolidates absolute political power. He positions massive Roman forces in Syria. He plays a patient diplomatic hand against a destabilized Parthian king. Augustus holds a Parthian royal son hostage in Rome. To avoid war, the Parthians agree to a settlement. They return the surviving, aging Roman prisoners. They hand back the military standards. Augustus transforms this diplomatic exchange into a monumental propaganda victory. He mints coins depicting a submissive Parthian handing over a standard. The eagles are deposited in the Temple of Mars, the Avenger. The Roman state claims victory without risking another desert massacre. But the legacy of Carrhae is permanent. The death of Crassus destabilized the triumvirate. It removed the buffer between Julius and Pompey, accelerating Rome's descent into civil war. It established Parthia as an impenetrable barrier to the east. Above the grand strategy, the lesson remains clear. The richest man in history lies in the dust, his throat choked with the molten symbol of his own greed.